Russia unleashed its second big attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure this month on Thursday. It cut power to more than 1 million people across the country and more than 500,000 in neighbouring Poland, according to Ukrainian government officials. Ukraine, which gets more than half of its electricity from nuclear plants, had disconnected several nuclear power units from the network during the attack, said a source in the energy sector. And state oil and gas firm Naftogaz said its facilities had been attacked in the morning strikes. Dozens of families in a village near Odessa were left homeless after missiles destroyed houses near a local power substation. In Lviv, the hum of generators filled the streets as businesses resorted to producing their own electricity in order to keep doors open. Alexei Kuznetsov works in a pub.
They started to switch off the electricity more often lately. Now there is no electricity. We set up the generator, turn it on. It's enough for the pub to operate, a little slower, but anyway, we make it work.
Mykolaiv residents face similar challenges. This man says he fears for pensioners living on upper floors of apartment blocks who will be forced to carry water up many flights of stairs while lifts are out of order. The attack reinforced fears of long power cuts during the winter months, as temperatures across Ukraine hover around freezing. Officials across the country said they were turning on generators to ensure emergency heat and water supplies to hospitals, schools, and other critical facilities during bitter winter weather. Ukrainian officials said it was the 11th major strike on the energy system since March. Russia has knocked out about half of Ukraine's available generating capacity during the course of the war, damaged the distribution system, and forced authorities to impose long blackouts.
Analysts believe President-elect Donald Trump's upcoming term could be the start of a bruising 4-year trade war. And on Thursday, China hit back against Trump's pledge to put additional tariffs on Chinese goods over fentanyl flows. A spokesperson for China's Commerce Ministry said the incoming administration was pushing to blame China for the US opioid crisis.
China's stance of opposing unilateral tariff increases has been consistent. Imposing tariffs arbitrarily on trade partners cannot solve the problems within the United States itself.
Trump, who takes office on January the 20th, said on Monday he would impose a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. He says he wants Beijing to do more to stop the trafficking of Chinese-made chemicals used in fentanyl, a highly addictive narcotic. He also threatened tariffs in excess of 60% on Chinese goods while on the campaign trail.
The United States should abide by World Trade Organization rules and work with China to promote the stable and sustainable development of economic and trade relations, in accordance with the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation.
Trump's comments fired the starting gun for what some expect to be a trade war potentially much worse than in his first term. That saw tariffs of between 7% and 25% and global supply chains uprooted.
For the question, say aye. Aye. Against, no. I think the ayes have it.
Social media will soon be banned for under 16-year-olds in Australia after a new law sets a benchmark with one of the world's toughest regulations targeting big tech. It forces tech giants from Instagram and Facebook owner Meta to TikTok to stop minors logging in or face fines of up to $32 million.
We know there is widespread concern and evidence about the severe mental health impact of social media on children. We've seen
a parliamentary inquiry this year heard evidence from parents of children who self-harmed due to social media bullying. Domestic media backed the ban, led by Rupert Murdoch's News Corp.
I'll quickly pull it up.
16-year-old user Annie Lamb acknowledges its potential harm, but says it is deeply ingrained in society and the law will force young people to more dangerous parts of the internet.
With such a clear-cut ban, I believe that it will only create a generation of young people who will be more technologically literate in bypassing these walls.
The ban also faced opposition from privacy advocates and some child rights groups, but 77% of the population wanted it, according to latest polls. Speaking on behalf of social media platforms, Australia's Digital Industry Group Managing Director Sunita Bose said the bill was rushed through Parliament.
In some ways it's cart before horse because we have the bill, but we don't have guidance from the Australian government around what are the right methods that a whole host of services subject to this law will need to employ.
In submissions, Google and Meta said the ban should be delayed until an age verification trial finishes, expected in mid-2025. The country will be watched as a test case, as a growing number of governments look to implement similar legislation.
Today I can announce that
the ban, considered a political win for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, could strain Australia's relationship with key ally the United States.
Come here.
Ex-owner Elon Musk, a central figure in President-elect Donald Trump's administration, said in a post this month it seemed a backdoor way to control access to the internet by all Australians. Australia has also made social media platforms pay media outlets royalties for sharing their content, and now plans to threaten them with fines for failing to stamp out scams.
Police clashed with pro-European Union protesters in the Georgian capital Tbilisi early on Friday. Demonstrations broke out overnight after the country's ruling party said Thursday it would suspend talks on joining the EU until 2028.
Of course we're upset. We're so angry. It's literally beyond embarrassing. What this government is doing to us, it's literally like, this is really...
Police ordered protesters to disperse, fired water cannons, and deployed pepper spray and tear gas as masked young people tried to smash their way into the parliament. Some protesters tossed fireworks at police while shouting Russians and slaves. Local media reported that protests erupted in several provincial cities as well. The country's figurehead president accused the government of declaring war on its own people. He asked riot police whether they served Georgia or neighboring Russia. Georgia has long been among the most pro-Western of the former Soviet states. Opinion polls show that around 80% of citizens support EU membership, and the aim of EU accession is written into the country's constitution. The bloc's flag flies alongside the national flag outside virtually all government buildings. However, Georgia's relations with the EU have deteriorated sharply in recent months, with Brussels alleging that the Georgian Dream governing bloc had adopted pro-Russian stands and pushed through bills that critics have called authoritarian, including curbs on LGBT rights and so-called foreign agents. Those moves led the EU to suspend Georgia's application for membership. Georgia Dream denies that it is pro-Russian and says it is committed to democracy and integration with the West. The party says it still wants to join the EU eventually, though it has, in recent years, deepened ties with Russia.
Romania's top court ordered a recount of votes in the first round of the presidential election on Thursday, after a shock result in the ballot. Independent far-right politician Calin Georgescu polled in single digits before Sunday's vote, but surged to a victory that has raised questions over how the surprise was possible. The Constitutional Court's decision adds to the turmoil surrounding the electoral process in Romania, which is set to hold 3 ballots in as many weeks, votes that are crucial to the direction of the country. Romania's top security body, the Supreme Defense Council, also warned the country was a key target for hostile actions from Russia, and that it had evidence of cyber attacks meant to influence the electoral process. There was no immediate comment from Russian authorities, and Moscow has previously denied foreign election interference. The council said in a statement that, quote, a presidential candidate benefited from massive exposure through preferential treatment on TikTok. Georgescu gained many votes from young voters and Romanians living abroad. His campaign relied heavily on TikTok. A spokesperson for TikTok said it was, quote, categorically false to claim Georgescu's account was treated differently to any other candidate. Georgescu said in a statement that state institutions were trying to deny people's vote, and earlier in the week said he has no connections to Russia. He's due to face centrist contender Elena Lesconi in a runoff on December 8th. On social media, Lesconi said the court was, quote, interfering in the democratic process for the second time, referring to a previous court decision to ban a far-right politician from running in the election. By law, the top court needs to validate the first round result by November 29th for the runoff vote to happen as scheduled. But the head of the country's election authority said recounting over 9.4 million votes would take days.